When you think of a farm animal, you probably imagine a pretty simple story, right? Our ancestors went out, caught a wild animal, tamed it, and that's it. But what if I told you the real story is way more complicated and honestly a lot more interesting? What if in some cases the animals actually made the first move? Okay, so let's really get into it. How does a wild animal, totally independent, become a partner on the farm? This journey is one of the biggest deals in all of human history, but it is definitely not a straight line. It's more like a tangled path, full of weird twists, false starts, and mysteries that scientists are still trying to solve today. And to untangle all this, we're going to treat it like a detective story. We're opening up the case files from the one place that is basically the global headquarters for domestication, Asia. We've got three main suspects we need to investigate: the pig, the buffalo, and the chicken. First up, the pig. Now, I'm calling this case the willing roommate, and you're about to find out exactly why. See, this isn't a story about humans capturing anything. It's a story about a very clever animal seizing an opportunity. And that brings us to this key idea called the commensal pathway. It sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. Sometimes the animals came to us. Wild boars, the ancestors of modern pigs, are super smart opportunists. So when humans started building villages, our trash piles, and our food stores, well, they became a free all-you-can-eat buffet. The boars moved in, we kind of let them hang around, and over thousands of years, that relationship started to get a lot closer. For the longest time, the theory was simple. Pigs were domesticated once, in one place. Story over. But new evidence has completely flipped that on its head. We now think it was a way messier and way cooler process. It probably happened in multiple different places, independently, across different regions of China. It wasn't one big invention. It was more like several local startups. So how in the world do we know this? Well, through some seriously amazing science. Archaeologists can now look at the plaque, yeah, the gunk on your teeth, from pigs that lived over 8,000 years ago. And inside that ancient plaque, they found tiny fossilized bits of the exact same plants humans were eating. That is the smoking gun. These weren't just wild boars wandering by anymore. They were living with us, eating our food. All right, let's close the pig file, for now, and open up case number 2, the water buffalo, or as I like to call it, the hired muscle. And believe me, this is a completely different kind of story. Unlike the pig, which just kind of showed up for the free food, the relationship with the water buffalo was a formal contract right from the start. This was not about leftovers. This was about pure, raw power. Humans needed a partner for the absolutely backbreaking work of farming, and the buffalo was the perfect candidate for the job. But wait, here's the plot twist. Water buffalo isn't just one animal. Genetically, there are two totally distinct types. You've got the swamp buffalo, which was essential for rice farming in East and Southeast Asia. And then you have the river buffalo from South Asia, which spread all the way west to Europe. This is incredible because it means they weren't domesticated just once, but at least twice in different places for totally different reasons. I mean, just look at this resume. Pulling plows? Check. Churning through muddy rice paddies? Absolutely. And for the river buffalo, becoming a huge source of milk? You got it. The domestication of the buffalo wasn't some happy accident. It was a major technological breakthrough that literally powered the growth of human civilization. And now for our final case file. And this one's a big one. The chicken. I'm calling it the surprise witness because its story completely rewrites everything we thought we knew. Go ahead, just take a wild guess. When do you think chickens became a thing on farms? 10,000 years ago? Maybe 8? For decades, that's pretty much what scientists thought too. Turns out they were way, way off. A huge study in 2022 re-examined all the evidence from hundreds of sites and came to a jaw-dropping conclusion. The very first bones we can say with 100% certainty are from a domestic chicken date to around 1650 BCE. That is thousands of years later than the old story. This discovery just hits the reset button on the history of one of the planet's most common animals. So what happened? Why the big change? The answer, it seems, is rice. Once humans started farming dry rice and millet, it created this brand new, super reliable food source. And the wild red jungle fowl, the chicken's ancestor, was drawn out of the deep forest and into human villages to get at the brain. Sound familiar? Just like the pigs, they were following that commensal pathway. The chicken didn't start out as food, it probably started as a pest, and then maybe a pet. Okay, so we've seen all this mind-blowing evidence, but how do scientists actually figure this stuff out? It's time to open up the archaeologist's toolkit and see how they solve these ancient cases. It's basically a four-step investigation. First, you examine the bones themselves. Are they getting smaller? Are the ages they died at changing? Second, you analyze their diet using amazing tech like the pig plaque we talked about. Third, you read the ancient DNA. That's how we can trace their family trees and find out about the two different types of buffalo. And finally, and this is so important, you survey the scene. Context is everything. Finding a bone in a trash heap tells a totally different story than finding one in a carefully constructed pen. So, after going through all the evidence, what's the verdict? What did our 3 case files really teach us? Let's wrap up the report. For the pig, the big finding is that it happened multiple times in different places across China. For the buffalo, we know there were at least 2 separate origins. And for the chicken, the timeline has been radically rewritten. The one thing that connects all of them is that the story is never simple and it is never, ever finished. There are always new questions popping up. And that really gets to the most important rule in this whole field of study. Whenever a scientist says earliest known, what they're really saying is this is the earliest we can prove, for now. Because as our scientific toolkit gets better, as we develop new ways to read DNA or analyze a diet, the timelines can and absolutely do change. The chicken story is the perfect proof of that. So in the end, the story of our partnership with animals isn't some dusty old chapter in a history book. It's an active, ongoing investigation. The stories of the pig, the buffalo, and the chicken have been completely turned upside down in just the last few years. Which really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Which animal's history is going to be rewritten next?